Hello everybody, Andrew Blake from the digitalaudiomanual.com. Today let's talk about a few of my favorite things in Cubase 14. Not trying to be funny with a catchphrase like that, but it seemed appropriate with this video in the holidays. But what I'm trying to focus on here, Cubase 14 came out. For me, it was a little bit of a surprise. I wasn't expecting an upgrade for another year yet. And of course, once it came out, videos started popping up everywhere, showing all the features, and everybody quickly came out with their favorite things, whatever new features were appealing to them. And the dust has settled a little bit now, so I felt it was my turn to offer up my perception of what I consider now some of the favorite things I've seen. And some of these things you may be aware of already, but I'm pretty sure I have one here that nobody has really addressed yet. And I was taken back as much as anybody when I discovered this, so I'll get to that in a minute. Let's approach this by making a basic tune here, and then we can go through our ideas as we incorporate them into our song. We'll start off the way I usually do, put a few chords into a chord track. I'll open up my lower zone. As far as the chord track goes, and the chord pads in general, I haven't seen too many things drastically different in Cubase 14, so that's somewhat familiar ground still. I'm just going to click and drag a few of these chords in quickly. Take the C sharp minor down and grab A, take this F sharp minor, and then I'll grab B. That'll work to start with. Close the lower zone. Let's take these chords and drag them into a synth track. We have something like this. First of all, let's explore the modulators, which is a new feature here. Open up the lower zone. I think a lot of people are confused just with the basic operation of this. Let me show you a couple tips. We're going to go to this first tile that's called an LFO and click on this. The minute we click on it, you can see something is happening. But if I play my synth again, you'll hear nothing is different. Because the first thing you have to do when you open up one of these LFOs is to set up a connection. And you set up a connection by hitting one of these plus signs. Before I do that, let me open up the synth interface. We'll work with this version of Nexus. Common parameter on any synthesizer is the cutoff. It has a very definite sound when you use it. I'm going to go down to the knob that says cutoff. And while I play the synth, I'm going to move this knob, and you'll notice the difference right away. I'm sure you've heard that kind of sound before. Once you've opened up one of these LFOs and hit this plus button, immediately puts this LFO into the learned state. That means the next thing I do on this synthesizer, in this case I'm going to touch this knob that says cut off, it's going to learn that I've touched this knob. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. Right now this knob is now connected to this cutoff knob. On this LFO is a little button. It's called hold the modulator output. If I turn this button on, basically stops the motion from this wave that's been moving over here. Now what happens is this knob on the LFO and this knob over on the cutoff basically become one and the same. In other words, if I grab this knob on the LFO and I start to move it, the exact same thing happens over on the cutoff. So they have now become one and the same, these two knobs. If I play the song and turn this big knob down, you get the same effect and the same sound that I got a second ago. I was touching the actual knob on the synthesizer. They both reflect each other. They both act identically. Now, imagine for a minute if I play this song and I move this knob quickly. I get that kind of a sound. What if I wanted that knob to move like that, but I don't want to sit here and move it? That is the whole idea behind this LFO. When I now turn this button on, if I look over at the cutoff knob on the synthesizer, it is now doing that exact same thing. It is moving up and down by itself. And if I play it, I get this kind of a sound. And if you understand that concept, you really have basic understanding of what is going on here. The rest of it comes down to learning some of the specifics of what these knobs are going to do. There's a lot of information in the digital audio manual. Walks you step by step through every one of these knobs. Shows you with examples what they do. So you might want to check that out. Typical example, if I go over to this far knob on the left, one that says note, this is what's going to change how fast or slow this knob is moving. Right now it's moving at the speed of a half note. This is what it sounds like. If I move this knob to a whole note, basically the distance of a bar, it's going to slow down how fast it moves, and it sounds like this. Maybe I want to slow it down even more. I'm going to move it to the number 2, meaning it's going to take 2 bars for this thing to change. Now I get this kind of a sound. For our purposes, that's what I want. Kind of want that long, sweeping sound, so I'm going to leave it that way. That's one of the first basic things we now have, the way we can add a little bit of life, even the most basic sounds. Now on to this thing I was talking about, and again, I found this to be quite a surprise when I discovered it. It has to do with the drum machine and the new pattern editor that we have. Again, 2 new features in Cubase 14. But all the introductory videos I have seen by all of our favorite gurus, and everybody else has been sharing their different slants on the different features, for one reason or another, everybody I've seen has been directing me to the option that when I create a new one of these drum tracks, 2 options to choose between: creating a MIDI part or creating a pattern event. And I've been led to believe that these are mutually exclusive. In other words, we have to go with either a MIDI part, which is kind of the standard way we've always worked, or we work with a new pattern event, which is the new feature in Cubase 14. Let me create the MIDI part first. I'll just say add the track. This creates a new drum track. I'm going to go to my list of presets, choose one of these from the list. Now my pads have loaded up with some great drum sounds. Because I have a MIDI keyboard hooked up, it's just natural for me to go ahead and play a part. I'm going to hit record and play something on my keyboard, putting in a basic drum part. That'll get us going. But now if I go over to the Editor tab, I see that I have my standard key editor. Or I can go to this drop-down list, and I can choose the drum editor, and I have all the functionality of using my drum editor. Because I chose this as a MIDI event, I'm not given the option to make use of the new pattern editor. And again, for me personally, that's the way I've been led to believe, with all the information that I've read and been shown in all the different videos, that you have to go either as a MIDI part, or you have to choose to make it a MIDI pattern, but the 2 are kind of mutually exclusive. So imagine my surprise when I'm experimenting one night, and I click on this MIDI part, and I go up to the MIDI menu, and as I'm browsing down this list, lo and behold, I see an option that says Open the Pattern Editor. And I'm thinking, open the pattern editor? How can I open the pattern editor when I have this set up as a MIDI part? So I go ahead and click this option just out of curiosity, and look what happens. The pattern editor has now shown up. What does this mean? Am I actually allowed to create some patterns? Or is this just a mistake? So moving on with my experimentation, I went over to the little dice option, started clicking on that, create some kind of random pattern. And just as a side note, this is another great option with this pattern editor in general. The way you can change the number of steps. This is set at 16. This pattern editor is covering 1 bar. I have 4 bars up here. I can actually spin this all the way up to 64, which now allows me to create a 4-bar loop in this pattern, taking advantage of the velocity variance and the probabilities and all of these things over 4 bars instead of 1. But I'm getting ahead of myself because right now, as far as I knew, I shouldn't be able to open the pattern editor because I created my drum machine as a MIDI event. It didn't go the way of creating a pattern event. But let's keep going and see what happens here. Set this up for 4 bars, 64 steps. I'm going to come over and hit my randomize button. You can see that it's putting in steps, which is great. Although I have no idea what this is connected to yet. And in fact, if I start playing my project again, see that nothing is different. It's not triggering this pattern editor. So basically, it looks like I have a useless editor in front of me. But you know me, I have to keep experimenting. So what I wound up doing, I opened up the option to show my lanes on this drum track. Then I came down to where it gives you the option to drag a pattern. I clicked on that, dragged it up onto the drum track where the MIDI event was, and lo and behold, it wrote in not only the existing MIDI part that's here, but it drew in the pattern event on the same track. At this point, I'm thinking, what is going on here? I played it and still nothing was happening. And then I came down and hit this randomized pattern again, and out of nowhere, this started to happen. I'm sitting here completely stunned, realizing that I can have my pattern and my MIDI part on the same track, playing through the same drum module. Because I already created a kick and a snare on this first drum track, on my pattern, I'm going to go ahead and mute out the kicks and the snares, which I have complete freedom to do, making sure it doesn't play both snares and kicks from my MIDI part and my pattern part. And now I have both parts playing together, complete harmony with each other. Now, I don't know if you're as stunned as I am, and I have no idea why nobody else has talked about this yet, because to me, this is a pretty big deal. One of the first limitations I was struggling with when I first started playing with the pattern editor is it has no option to enter MIDI. It's strictly a create a pattern type of thing. So if you want to draw in some MIDI parts, or like I did, play them in real time, you either had to create a separate MIDI part, or just realize that you can't really do that with a pattern editor. Now, I have to say, we can only hope that as things move along, they come to a point where both of these are completely interchangeable. In other words, being able to create a MIDI part and ultimately open that up into the pattern editor. In a way, you've already got the ability to take the pattern editor and open it up as a MIDI part. You just can't go back to a pattern again after you do that. So if they finally get the ability to freely move between these two editors, that is going to be quite an amazing jump forward in our DAW technology world. But in the meantime, and this is the critical thing, we have the ability, even so, to play a MIDI part and our pattern already within the same instance of the drum machine. This opens up a lot of creative possibilities, and it certainly expands the amount of fun you can have. Because by having this pattern editor, they've incorporated so much of this variation in here that I can simply now play my MIDI part, which is just a static kick and drum, along with my regular pattern, as much as I want to, and create this randomized pattern, all different kinds of variations on the same thing. Going further than that, there's a button down here that allows us to duplicate the pattern. I can click this as many times as I want. I'm going to click 5 or 6 different patterns in here, and they all get created in this drop-down list. And I can use each one of these to make some kind of variation. For example, let me go to the second pattern, and now when I play this, I'm going to hit this randomize button until I hear something new that I like. Just like that. Let me go to this drop-down list. I'll go to the third pattern. I'm going to randomize that a little bit. Some of the amazing stuff we have in this pattern editor, for example, let me solo these hi-hats, which gives us this kind of a sound. We have a tab down here called repeats. You haven't tried this yet. Watch what happens when I hit the randomize on this. Now I play the hi-hats again. Plays all these different variations of repeats on the single hi-hat hits. I can scale this down. It's not that extreme. And that's really all I want to do. Just make some basic moves here. Listen to what that's done to these hi-hats. Trying to program that in is really a lot of work. Be able to just hit this variation and then randomize these different hits. There is so much fun to be had with this pattern editor. But the drawback is, if you want to do something simple, like I did with this kick and the snare, that's almost more work to try and do that in the pattern editor. Now, because they completely work together, it's just an amazing thing that we have this capability, and nobody else is really talking about this. Let me expand this part a little bit, from 4 bars up to 16 bars. And if you don't use the arranger track, you may want to consider taking a second look at that, because it makes doing things like this so easy. I'm going to draw a little 4-bar part. I'm going to tell the arranger to play it 4 times. Tell it to flatten the chain. Then immediately I have the 16-bar part. Going back to my pattern editor, because I created all those extra patterns, I can just simply go to any of these other patterns, say number 1 on them right now, and that same drop-down list is available, and I can change it to pattern 2. I can go to this next one and change it to pattern 3, go to this last one and change it to pattern 4, and I could go on and on with making different patterns. But now I have this 16-bar part with my basic static kick and drum. All my percussion stuff is constantly changing, constantly evolving, different elements of velocity, different elements of the repeats. If I want to change any one of these patterns, it's as simple as coming down and hitting this randomized pattern again, and it just goes on and on and on. Talking about going down a creative rabbit hole, there is so much we can do with this. Let's expand this and put a bass part in here just to kind of fill this arrangement out. I want to layer this up with another synth to get some extra sound in here. Last thing I want to talk about that I think they did a really good job of now. You may have seen the video I did on creating loops, and if you tried to do any of the steps that I demonstrated in that video, you may or may not have had any kind of success because the basic system is kind of finicky. and it really depended on what kind of loop set you were working with. Well, now with this introduction that they put in here in the media bay, where if we come down, like I'm going to choose a vocal here, we can actually come to the bottom, pick out whatever key we want to move this to. If I go back up to my chord track for a minute, I have a button here that says show the scales. If I click on that, it tells me that my song is in the key of E major. For those of you that may not know the music theory behind this, simply go to Google and type in what's the relative minor to the key of E major, and you'll be told that it's C sharp minor. Because most of these loops were put together with a minor key, I choose my C sharp minor, play my loop, move this drop down to where it says C sharp,
what dimension am I in?
and now moves that loop into that key. Some of these aren't very drastic, but some of them can be very drastic. We'll get some real different effects from that, whether it's higher or lower.
Let me go, I need you to.
If I find some that I like, I can just click them and drag them into my project. It'll retain that key, allowing us to come up with some great little vocal samples very quickly. Drag one more in here. Since we have some vocals, let's go ahead and add our vocal chain into it. Go to my inserts, type in vocal, use a vocal chain. And I've shown you before, we have this great preset, these kind of spacey background vocals called the broken radio. The only thing we have to do is kind of mess with the delay a bit. I'm going to turn on the ping pong, filter bank, the sync on, make this a quarter note. I'm going to really bring up the send. Then I'm going to use this ducker so I can bring the vocals to the front. Turn on the reverb for this and change this to the lush pop. Again, turn the filter bank on, really bring up the send on this. Of course, we can go on and on developing this arrangement, but even just using 3 basic features like we did here, starting out taking the synthesizer and using the new LFO feature, and then the big one of being able to combine a pattern editor and our MIDI track all through the new drum machine, the one instance of the drum machine, and how we can bring samples in, and they do a pretty good job of adjusting the key for us now. Pretty quickly, you can start putting some ideas together with a new level of ease we really didn't have before on so many of these things. So have a listen to this little track we just made. Think about how you can use some of these techniques in your productions. Have some fun, make some great music, and I'll see you next time. All right, it's going to wrap it up for today. As always, if you haven't already, click the link in the description of this video to learn how you can get access to the all-new Digital Audio Manual Preferred. It's the clear, step-by-step solution showing you not only the tips, but all the secret and typically never talked about features that'll take you to a higher level of using your software. If you've been searching for an all-in-one solution to take you from start to finish and learning Cubase and Wavelab and other music software, this is exactly what you've been looking for. So click on the link in the description and come and be part of the clear path to a better learning experience. So today we had a look at a few of my favorite things from Cubase 14. We started out with a basic look at the LFO options. Then I shared with you my discovery of being able to use both the new pattern editor and a MIDI track, both together on the same track and in the same instance of the drum machine, feature that I have not heard anybody else talk about yet. And then we looked at the option for transposing our samples and loops, the way they've incorporated that into the media bay, and we put a short little production together just to demonstrate how it all sounds. And we will continue to move through all our creative options and the tools that we have available to us. As always, it's great to have you guys here, and I will see you on the next video.